My name is Stefan Gautran. I am CEO of Starfleet Detailing, and we specialize in commercial detailing. Today, I'm going to be talking about heavy equipment and what's involved in detailing those types of units.
What is the difference between detailing heavy equipments and other vehicles?
I think the biggest difference between doing equipment detailing versus plain old vehicles is that when we're doing heavy equipment, we're dealing with a different type of dirt. There's grease, mud. We also have to detail with heights. A lot of equipment is really tall. We have to work up and down ladders. And so safety is a big concern. Obviously, we want to keep the standard rule of 3 touch points when we're going up and down and when we're working inside those types of vehicles.
What's the biggest challenge you face when detailing a heavy equipment?
Well, I would say the biggest challenge is heights, trying to get your equipment up onto the vehicles, the platforms, or within the cabs. That's a big challenge. The other challenge with heavy equipment is a lot of times they don't fit in the bay because they're too big. And so we have to work out in the yards. We have to deal with the weather, the wind, sometimes the heat. And when it's starting to get off season, we have to deal with the cool temperatures. So those are all factors that can make it challenging. Obviously, we have to work with the fleet manager and try to get the best weather for what we're doing. But that would be probably the biggest challenges.
What kind of heavy equipments that require detailing in the yard?
So the heavy equipment that we detail out in the yards, those are the ones that are going to be affected by the weather. And so the weather is a big part of detailing out in the yards. And if there's going to be rain, it's high winds, those are things that will make our detailing very challenging. And sometimes it'll be almost pointless if the weather's not good, because as you clean, it just gets dirty again with the wind blowing and bring in dust. And of course, if it's too cold, that can also be a challenge. And so if it's, I would say probably 5 degrees and below, then we usually don't detail that environment. But if it's heavy equipment that's not too big, like an excavator, bulldozer, things like that, usually they can do that inside the bays. And so if that's the case, then we just have to worry about the height and trying to get all of our equipment in a level that's handy, that won't go against our safety protocols.
What types of products or equipments that are essential for effective heavy equipment detailing?
Well, when we detail heavy equipment, we obviously use the same things that we would in detailing other types of vehicles. For example, chemicals such as a degreaser, very important, window cleaner. But the one tool that most vehicles don't require, but is required for heavy equipment, is the vapor or steamer. And so that's important because it helps us break down the grease, whether it be from just the hands or it might be on the boots. And so the degreaser has a hard time with heavy grease. So light greases and oils, degreaser can handle it no problem, but when it comes to built up hardened grease, the vapor mixed in with the degreaser is essential to be effective.
What happens if a company decides not to detail their heavy equipment regularly?
Well, if a company decides not to detail regularly their heavy equipment, what happens is that all the mud, the sand, the grease, it starts to damage the surfaces. And of course, premature wear and tear, and it's also harder to maintain. So when you go back only, let's say every 2 years, some companies, they do that, they'll wait every 2 years. And then we go in there and it's harder, it takes longer, we have to charge more, obviously. And then the results aren't as good as they would like. And so it's important to do it regularly to maintain the condition of the heavy equipment.
What happens if they return the leased heavy equipment with premature wear or damage?
Obviously, if it's damaged when they return their heavy equipment and there's this premature wear, then they will get penalized by the leasing company.
What's the hardest part about detailing heavy equipment?
I think the biggest challenge in detailing heavy equipment is trying to break up the grease, for one, trying to pick up the mud and the sand. So if they use, for example, a mechanic or even a laborer to go in and detail those units, if they don't have the right equipment, it's a losing battle, because instead of picking up and removing all the dirt and grease, they're just kind of spreading it around. And when everything dries, it just looks as bad as before. That'd be the first challenge. And the second challenge is working in heights. So if you're working on top of a ladder, on a platform that's on a bulldozer, you have to have a place to put your equipment down. And so that could be a challenge, it could be trip hazard. So it's very important with safety. So if you're not used to that, it could be dangerous. It could create a fall. So that's another hazard in doing heavy equipment. So if fleet detailing, especially for your heavy equipment, is something that interests you, something that you need, please feel free to give us a call or visit our website, starfleetdetailing.com, or you can call us at 587-991-3301, and we'll set you up so that we can go ahead and give the service that you deserve.